Right, so we're going to shoe some Morade blue shoes. These are the new ones. And we have our first victim being Twinkie. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go through what tools we need to do the job. So obviously we need some horseshoes, wire brush, normal trimming gear, glue. This is the new 3D glue, some nozzles, and of course the gun. Then we've got a cling film wrap, some super glue, the activator, super fast activator for the super glue, just so that when you put the super glue on, you can sometimes have a little bit of play. That stuff just ensures that when I spray that onto the shoe, put super glue on the foot, do that and it instantly sticks. So we'll maybe do that, that depends on how they fit on the foot. Then we've got some degreaser, and then we have some dental impression material and some copper sulfate, but we'll go into that in a moment. I'm going to try a different way of taking some shoes off with this. So what I'll do is I'll take one shoe off the normal way, and I'll take another shoe off using this new tool. So let's go over to the horse. So when we take these shoes off, the acrylic glue sticks like that. It's really good for this way. It doesn't come off at all. They're really good for shearing and stuff like that. So people often say, well, Luke, how do you take it off? And it's called the peel. So what happens there is you take it off slowly like that. The glue doesn't like tiny bit, and then moves. So we've got to start somewhere. Good girl, Twig. Just sink your nippers in, just there, and slowly feel. Just slowly peel off. Like that, you can see how it slowly starts to move around. Like that. I think that's just about off. So now, this side. Sorry if I'm not talking, guys. I'm not used to this. This is my very first video doing this. So now that we've got the cuff sort of off, which is how they sort of attach, we can now pick it up and try and take it off this way. So this is the foot. That's how it looks. These are the spider bars that we're taking off. Let's see if we can't just do that. And there we go. Off like that. So now we've got to trim the feet. See how we go. Start on one side and then we'll work his way around. And he's got a little bruise in there. Away from a stone from the previous shoeing. Not with these glue shoes, because that would have protected that. But the reason why we started with this is just because we're going back into work, so these glue shoes protect that. See, it's a little bit blue. That's the copper sulfate to make sure it's not getting infected or anything along them lines. Keeps it nice and healthy underneath the dental impression material. You can see how, you know, how hard this frog is. Clean out these little bits. Still got a little bit of glue on the foot. Begin the trim. I like to do things one-handed, just so I'm not underneath the animal, and it means that when I get underneath, sometimes they're a little bit further out. Twink's 19 today, so a little bit less arthritis, a little bit arthritic, so the least amount of trauma that I can do, probably best. Just gradually work my way around. The idea of the nipper is just to take as much off as we can. You can see There's still plenty of foot to take off, but the idea is I then come round with my little rasp, just so we get a perfectly trimmed foot. You don't want to overdo it with a pair of these. So you can still see, got a little bit foot one side than the other, but that's where I come around with a rasp and just tidy everything up. Working my way around again in a fashion. And doing slightly less on this side. Looking down the foot, seeing I've got a little bit more to take off there. It's not quite flat on this side. You can see as well, the foot is just a little bit, if I do that, a little bit going this way. So what we'll do is we'll just tidy this side up. See, I'm putting a little bit of a bevel there. That's purely and simply to give me a little marker, so that when we go on the foot stand, it gives me a little marker where to trim to. So this is just my rough trim, and we'll tidy this up in a little bit. Good girl, Twinkie. Tidy this up a little bit.
I don't get paid for it, but I still get paid for it online.
Making sure we get into this white line, getting all that little bit of muck out, because these shoes do trap, not trap, but we're going over the top of it, so any little bit of muck, try and just get out a little bit. But there you go, that's my rough trim. So just making sure that we've got all the way around the heel, because that's where the most expansion and contraction happens. So we want a nice little bit of adhere to happen on these parts. So see, we've got a little bit of glue still there. So you can see again, I've made that little bevel that I can just feel with my finger. So I'm using that as my marker to not go above that point. My cuffs will go above here. So I'm making sure that there is a rough finish. Purely and simply, no one's going to see it. But the other part, you can see these tiny little grooves that are being made. It gives the glue a little bit more to stick with. On a normal horse, I'd make sure that it was nice and flush, you know, a bit like this here. But I'm purposely making this trim rough on the outside, and we can always tidy it up after. But if the shoe doesn't stick, we look like a bad farrier. Because whenever you ask someone what makes a good farrier, it's when the shoes stay on. So there we go. Nice, evenly proportioned feet. Glue absolutely hates dust, so we're going to make sure that we keep his work area nice and tidy. So we're going to try out this new tool. Now that worked pretty well on this, so we'll try it on that and then we can see which one actually works the best. So the idea with these glue shoes is that they're non-traumatic, so there's no wrenching in, or as little wrenching as we can to take them off. So this just gives me another way to take them off. Oh, that works. Oh, it's quite well, especially on the inside. I find sometimes when we use the nippers, sometimes it can get in the way a little bit like that with the reins. Whereas doing it like this, that actually works quite well on the inside. A little bit, I suppose, more physical for me. But you can see here, I can get this glue shoe tool in quite well, where I wouldn't be able to do so with a pair of nippers. So that works really well in there. The only thing I'm finding is it's just getting caught in the concrete and can't get to the bottom because I can't push anymore because of that little gap. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go on here and just see how well it takes it off on the foot stand now. But at least I've made a good start here by doing this. Oh, a little bit squeaky. Going like this now. But definitely made a really good start to that inside. So perhaps if the glue's holding really well, it'd be a really good tool to just get me started on the inside in future. But you don't know sometimes until you try. So I'm glad I tried. Like this now, I could just get it started at least. Like that. Look at that look. There we go. I got it started. Sometimes it's quite tricky to get the teeth sometimes to stick in. So, there we go. Peel it off. No banging, no crashing, no nothing like that. And then we can go right to this side. Beautiful shoes. These have been on about 6 weeks, something like that. You can see the impression material inside. Feet. Lovely. Look how much exfoliation we've got in here. That's really good to see. Really good to see. And you can just see a little bit of tingy blue. That tingy blue, again, and around here, is just to make sure that the feet are nice and healthy. These are Twink's first shoes this year. We've been in boots since then, but you can see on that other foot that we just did a little bit of bruising. So that's not the bruising that's caused by this shoe. This is the previous shoeing. Well, trimming. We've just stood on a stone, something along them lines. I mean, that's the bruise that's coming out now. So don't think these are what's caused them. These are actually what's been helping it. So just get that exfoliated sole out. Now we're dealing with the frog. You can see how lovely and exfoliated this is. What we want to see is that nice waxy material that's just there. That's the horse telling me that, you know, that's as far as you really want to go, purely and simply because that's where all this chalky material is coming off. This is what the horse would naturally exfoliate. So we don't really want to go beyond that. A lot of farriers make it really shiny and all the rest of it, but I don't, purely and simply because the horse is meant to have some of it, and it acts like a little pad anyway when you do it. So sometimes less is more. Sometimes we don't want these to start folding and kinking, so I like to make these nice and straight. That's what stops the foot from caving in at these bars. So we don't want to see that too much. Clean up this area. I will add that this is my first day back at work, so if I sound a little out of breath and struggling, it's because my back's hurting. Right, so same again, get a little bit of a gist of the feet. These bits are very hard on top, so that's why I'm doing it with my nipper. So what I'm looking at here, you have clearly a lot of foot on here, but you've got more heel than toe, so that's why I'm starting at the heel, and I like to go around in a fashion. So start with this side, and again I'm allowing a little bit of leeway above the foot, purely and simply less margin forever. I'd rather take a few more rasp strokes than a wrong nipper move. So what I'm doing is I'm gripping, a little wiggle and grip, a little wiggle and grip. I'm trying to form a line in my head of where I want this nipper run to go, because the least amount of rasping I can do, the better it sort of is. That's where we can now tidy it up. You can see, again, took more off that side and that side, but that's what I meant to do. Clean it up. And again, I am doing this one-handed. Usually I would do it in between my legs to get a better finish, but again, I'm back at work today, and Twink is a little bit arthritic, so I tend to do this quite a lot. Anyway, what I'm looking for, the heels to be at the widest part of the frog. The frog is about here, widest, tallest part, so these heels do need to come down just a little bit more. Did it too much from that, the horse would be tipped back a little bit, too forward, and vice versa. So again, making sure I've got that little bit of a bevel going round. You can see we've got more foot here on the outside, so we'll go. Just going to create this little bevel that goes around to make sure I've got the most even foot as I can. I'll just clean up a little bit now. My eyes can sort of get to work a little bit, get rid of this bit of black in the white line here. And this also doesn't help the shoes stick. You want a nice material for the horses to stick. Sticking to this sort of flaky stuff is not going to hold the shoe on very well. So, cleaning the field a little bit. Again, just a rough one. Gives the feet better to stick to. I don't like to take too much out of my feet. Right, so again, start at one side, right towards the heel, These again, both expansion and contraction. And work his way in an ordinary fashion around the foot. There's no point going it's never going to work. So nice round feet, nice round work. Slowly work yourself round. Using the rough side of my rasp. And have we got it? Yes, we have. So. That's that. Ooh, missed a bit. So, I would go that way around, but I'm right-handed, so you can just see that little bevel I've made just there. So clean the feet up. Doing that. Look at that, Twinkie. See that? It's not quite got it. There's a bit more work to do on this side, as I said before, underneath the foot. So, get all these raggedy stuff off, because otherwise there's glue's going to stick to that. And we do not want that to happen. Otherwise my shoes will come off. And my other half will be. You can just see I've just got a little bit there, so I'm good there, I'm good there. Just that little portion in the middle. It just stops trips going backwards and forwards to the feet. We've got a little bit of crack in there just from being barefoot. But that's why we put the shoes on in the first place. So, a little bit of wonk just there and there. So we're going to take a little bit more off this side. Rasp it there. Just got now a nice even foot. Again, all that sort of stuff is dust and all that, which we don't want. So we're going to clean his work area, and then we're going to start preparing for the shoes. Just a little bit of touching up on this foot. It's good to just review your feet after you've done them. Pick them up that second time, just to make sure we're doing everything right. See, this foot is just a little bit longer than what we are wide, so that's where these shoes, you set them under a little bit and just take that toe back a little bit more. See, just got a little bit less on this side than what we have this side. So again, take that down just a little bit more, just to make sure we're nice and even. A little bit more. The foot is generally nice and clean. Now we're going to check the fit of these lovely things. Right, so important to start with one, and while we're here, get the degreaser and the wire brush to make sure the area is clean as possible. So again, you see that bruise there? You can see I've generally not taken any of this exfoliation away, just because we want the least amount. You know, you want that material there. There's no point taking it all out like this, because then you're leaving that more exposed, and we don't want to see that. So, look at them, the beautiful things. A little bit of a tap, I think. Making sure it fits nice around here, and it fits lovely back here. You can just see. Would I want this a little bit longer? Maybe, but actually on Tweak, she suffers with a little bit of interference injuries. So the more things that comes back here, we don't want, okay? So for her, actually, we still, you know, got a little bit back here, but for Twink, this actually suits her really well. You can see it's perfectly proportioned in every way for her feet as well. And having that little bit of bruise. But I'm gonna make sure the dental pressure material leaks out a little bit here. And that's my shoeing plan going forward. So I don't need to make any adjustments. Bit of degreaser. You don't want anything sticking on that. So, they're perfectly exactly the same, so I'm just going to check the fit on this side, just because we're here. It saves me picking up the other foot. Okay, so with this one, again, little tap back, same.